Lakers are without their two superstars, but could get them back just in the nick of time before the playoffs. AD could return in 2 weeks, LeBron in 3. Now, let's see how the purple and gold are currently faring in the West. So since AD's injury, the Lakers have treaded water at 12 and 13. They are in 5th place at 33 and 20. The Jazz, Suns, Clips, Nuggets are all ahead of the defending champs. Max Kellerman, how will AD and LeBron's injuries impact the stretch run and the playoff serve?
Assuming they come back healthy, it's going to help them, I think, because of the added responsibilities that role players have. Look, Talen Horton-Tucker, who played well again, he's valued throughout the league. The reason the Lakers didn't make deadline deal was because in order to match salaries, other teams had to take back a lot of players they didn't want, and then what they really wanted was Talen Horton-Tucker, and the Lakers like, nah, it's good, we're going to keep him. So he's seen more kind of dimensions to his game. He's been able to display them and to work on them than he ordinarily would have to were LeBron and AD playing. And we've seen, obviously, Drummond, who's, you knew he could walk in on a team that needed offense and give you 20 and 10 or 20 and 15 even. And the role players just generally are able to show extra dimensions to their game. So if called upon in the moment of truth, they should be more comfortable doing that. I think that certainly helps the Lakers. And then there's the rest that LeBron is getting right now. Not to mention AD, but LeBron in particular. When does this man ever have an offseason? He's in the finals every year. So, while other players get to go on vacation, LeBron has more intensity. Every minute is not created equal. The minutes you play at the end of a long season in a high-pressured situation is going to be more taxing, more draining. And this man does that every year for a million years now. Now he gets a nice, long rest. And finally, Stephen A., I'll say, when you look at the standings in the West, even if the Lakers were the 10th seed, and they've been treading water, they've been just about 500 since LeBron went down, meaning no LeBron, no AD. They're winning just about as much as they're losing. But even if they're the 10 seed, you think they're going to lose a play-in game or tournament when they have LeBron and AD to the 9 or 8 seed in the West? No, that ain't going to happen. And then, now they have a tougher schedule. Well, they lose a home game in the playoffs if someone can take them 7 games. But you're going to have to beat a bunch of nasty teams to begin with. Who do you want first? Does it really matter? You got the Mavs, the Blazers, the Nuggets, Clippers, Suns, Jazz. They're all tough. You're going to have to play at least 2 of them, if not 3, to get out of the West. I think in the long run, provided they're healthy, this actually helps the Lakers.
Well, there's nothing to talk about provided they're healthy, because if they're healthy, they have 2 of the top 5 players on the planet in Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I am not concerned at all about LeBron James. And he is the one player in this league that, take as much time as you need. I have nothing to say. Considering the level of success that he continuously puts forth, plus his willingness to play, the fact that he shows up, that regular season games matter, and he doesn't like to miss games, and he has a proven history to validate that, I don't give a damn if LeBron is healthy and decides to take a month off. It means nothing to me. He's earned it, okay? I don't think anybody else in the league has earned that as much as him. Let me get that out the way. Anthony Davis, that's a different matter, because Anthony Davis's durability is the question mark here. Anthony Davis healthy, there's not much to worry about because we know how lethal he is. But the injury that he sustained and the way he grabbed his leg and how eerily similar it looked to Kevin Durant with his calf and what have you, that's what has me worried about Anthony Davis. They say he's going to come back. I'm almost of the mindset that I'll believe it when I see it. And not only that, remember, the word is out. They're going to get physical with him. And there are teams in the Western Conference in position to get physical with him, especially Denver. When you think about the pickup of Aaron Gordon, and obviously with the Joker, with Jamal Murray and Barton to be back this year. He is back, but I'm saying he wasn't in the bubble play last year. When you consider the weapons that they have available to them, Denver is going to be incredibly, incredibly formidable. We see Utah. We know that. The Phoenix Suns have arrived. They are here, and you're going to have to deal with them. And so I think that because of the road, it's going to require the health of Anthony Davis to be right there, to be relatively pristine. It can't be a situation where he's walking around at 60, 70% or whatever, and he's being a bit tentative. No, he's going to have to bring his 50, A game 60. In order for them to get out of the Western Conference. That's my concern. I'm not saying that he's going to be injured, Max, and he can't play at all. My concern is that I think that he needs to be better than 75% in order for the Lakers to get out of the Western Conference. And that's my concern.
50, 60%, you're right. And you're right to be concerned because of the nature of the injury. The calf bone's connected to the Achilles bone, as we've found out, right? I'll say this, though. They didn't used to have Andre Drummond. And that man is like, whatever you want to think about a fit, whatever, he's better than an average starting center. He's a high-quality starting center, starting five. And before they had Drummond, AD is best at the five on this team. Are we sure that's still the case? Because you talk about getting physical with him, but if he's playing the four, that might be less of a concern, especially the way AD was shooting it this season. And it's different. It's not just like you have a name brand at the five, but he's not really a starter anymore, right? Marc Gasol or someone like that. No, you got a guy who's a high-level starter in Drummond right now. You can legit play at the five, AD at the four. That might be your best team.
I want to say this real quick as an aside, guys. Marc Gasol, he was on the bench. He spoke about it, didn't say much about it, but obviously he was not happy that Andre Drummond arrived and essentially took his starting spot. I like Marc Gasol a lot. I really, really do. Andre Drummond is better.
Yeah, Gasol's a little long in the tooth.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.